Welcome back, my fellow Brew Bros and Brew Sisters. This is Magus the Brew, number 6, the podcast for Goblin, Tribe, Codex, and Commander. Crack them with cold ones at the same time. Today's commander is the illegal Planeswalker, Tezzeret the Seeker. Today's beer is the Belching Brewery, Here Comes Mango IPA. Because just as some people believe that Planeswalkers shouldn't be commanders, some people believe that fruit doesn't belong in beer. Undoubtedly, I imagine by now everybody has seen the new one of the newest Command Zone podcast videos where they debated whether or not Planeswalkers should be allowed as commanders in the commander format. Now, this has been a fairly long discussion. It's been going long since pretty much the first Planeswalkers were printed. I really didn't care about it much until recently, until I remember when the spoiler for Ixalan came out, and under the tagline of they became legendary Planeswalkers, specifically in Ixalan. And this was kind of like an idea of like, oh, maybe they're going to allow Planeswalkers as commanders, because I wasn't playing Commander when the Commander 2014 product came out, which was the Planeswalker Commanders, like the legal ones. And we did have the new additions to the Kenriths, Planeswalkers from Battle Bond, and I mean, in a way, we have like the flip Planeswalkers, the new Nicol Bolas, and then all the like Baby Jace and stuff like that. They now flip into Planeswalkers, but they start as legendary creatures, so those ones are legal. But pretty much as long as there has been Planeswalkers, this debate has raged on, and I got into it. I participated in the comments, and their video was a fairly intense video where they discussed it. Obviously, it was all, cordial. But so I won't, I'll spare you the details of my arguments I laid out in the comment section of that video, but I had a little bit of spirited debate with a couple people. All as well. It was a good little fun. But that said, though, some of the things that I really didn't get was when they were talking about the chain veil and how it would be essentially broken and it would have to be banned because of Tezzeret. I know I made a comment about the shoot first, ask questions later style of creating a ban list, which I think is wrong. I think you should, if something becomes obviously oppressive, it will happen relatively quickly. And you can ban it after that, but at least let it happen first. Not everybody plays the best decks, and most playgroups police themselves. That's a separate discussion. But Chain Veil in its best iteration works the best with Teferi, one of the very few Planeswalker commanders that's already available. Because Teferi, for his -1, allows you to untap 4 permanents, including the Chain Veil, and then enough permanents that add up to 5 mana, presumably, and you actually generate infinite mana this way, because if you activate his -1 enough times, he dies. Now, they made a lot of arguments for Tezzeret being in the same power level, and now Tezzeret is a very good Planeswalker, and would be one of the better Planeswalker commanders if legal, and that is one of the reasons I made the deck today. But Tezzeret only untaps 2 artifacts. It's not 4 permanents. And he stays on the battlefield. So you're going to make an infinitely large Tezzeret if you had a artifact that tapped for at least 4 mana, which the only one that can do that is Everflowing Chalice. So you'd have to get an Everflowing Chalice to 4 charge counters, so it's tapping for 4 mana, and then the Chain Veil. And Tezzeret, because of his -X ability, you can search out a artifact from your library and put it directly into play. That's a very good ability. It's the only reason he's a good commander, I think, because he's a tutor commander, and tutor commanders are inherently powerful. But if he searches out the Chain Veil, he dies, and then what are you going to do with just the Chain Veil? Useless. So it's kind of a weird thing. I don't know why they were so upset about the Chain Veil. The Chain Veil is already the best it will probably be with Teferi already. It's not going to make Tezzeret good by any stretch of the imagination. It's probably better in a different commander. but not Tezzeret. So I'll hop right into this deck now. This deck is essentially a Goblin charbelcher deck, because that doesn't care whether or not Tezzeret's alive when he searches it out. So the deck essentially functions of using the card Mana Severance, which is an old sorcery. It basically reads, search your library for any number of land cards, and then remove them from the game, and then shuffle your library afterwards. It costs a blue and a 1. Now, the way Goblin Charbelcher works is it costs 4, which means you can search it out with Tezzeret, because he has 4 loyalty counters when he comes in, and you can do the -4, go find Goblin Charbelcher. Now, for 3 and you tap it, you reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a land card. Goblin Charbelcher deals damage equal to the number of non-land cards revealed this way to target creature or player. Players in most every case. If the revealed land was a mountain, Goblin Charbelcher deals double that damage. We're not playing any mountains because this deck is blue. And then you put the revealed cards on the bottom of your library in any order. Now, how this works is you remove all your lands from the deck, play Tezzeret, search out Goblin Charbelcher, pay 3, tap it, you reveal your entire library. They take, we'll say approximately 50 damage, 60, something like that, which should pretty much kill one player. Now, the most interesting part about this, because this only will kill one player, which is not particularly ideal. We'd like to kill an entire table, but sometimes that's not an option. And that's how the deck works functionally in every other format, specifically Legacy or Vintage, where you're just kind of just nuking one player. Now, in this deck, though, which makes it a little more interesting, is there's a specific line of text at the bottom of Goblin Charbelcher that I don't know if you've ever noticed before. But it says, put the revealed cards on the bottom of your library in any order. Instead of a random order, which is the way most cards are always set up, you actually get to stack your deck after you charbelch, which I had honestly never noticed before. So to make sure we kill our next opponents, because presumably if it's a table of 4 people, we kill one person, there's 2 people left. We play Temporal Mastery. Temporal Mastery is the Miracle Sorcery. It's a 2 blue and 5. Take an extra turn after this one, exile it. But it has the Miracle ability, where you can, when you cast this card for its Miracle cost, if you draw it for the first card you drew that turn. So you can shuffle your deck, or you can stack your deck, putting Temporal Mastery on top. So that the next turn, obviously you're going to charbelch one person, those 2 people get their turns, the 2 remaining people. Then when it goes back to you, you're going to, surprise, you have a Miracle. You're going to Temporal Mastery, take an extra turn. And then before you take your turn, you obviously finish your 1 turn, kill one person, take your second turn, kill another person. Now we do run a couple other turn spells, just like Time Warp and Temporal Manipulation, just because in case, maybe they counter the Miracle spell or, something happens. We need an additional turn. But you can just stack your turn spells however you want. Or you can, even if you want to do something else in the deck, you can stack that. It is kind of a little bit all in, though, because you are exiling every land from your deck to do this. So, you're probably not going to be trying to do it that fast, but you also are playing mono blue, so he's like a very solid control commander. So that's a good way to play him. Now, the deck also runs a Dramatic Scepter or Ice Crown Scepter Dramatic Reversal combo, just to twiddle and generate infinite mana. And now Tezzeret works out very interesting this way, and this actually kind of, I think, is one of those, it's like an unlocked potential in a lot of Planeswalker commanders if they became an option, is if you have a Planeswalker that actually just dies. Like, he can come into play, use one of his abilities, and then it, or her abilities, or its abilities, I guess, in some case, and use their ability, and then, since you have infinite mana, you can actually just recast them again, and do it again, and again, and again, and, I think that's like one of the hidden potentials for Planeswalkers. Because it's very rare that you have a creature, a legendary creature as a Planeswalker that, like, when it comes into play, it kills itself. Like, it has an effect and then it dies. Which makes it very powerful, because then if you can have infinite mana and just recast it as many times as you want, then you can reuse that ability as many times as you want. A quick example is, I believe, Garrick Primal Caller, that I think he comes in with 3, and his -3 is draw cards equal to the greatest power creature you control. Now, even if you have a 1/1, if you have infinite mana, you can actually, like, draw your whole deck this way. Now you're playing mono green, so I don't know what you're going to do with that, but it's a interesting way to approach building a Planeswalker deck. But as I previously mentioned, dramatic reversal, Isochron Scepter combo, generating infinite mana. You can actually just use Tezzeret. This is the way I built it because I didn't really want to have a whole chain of artifacts I wanted to search out or whatever. So I just put Sentinel Tower. The Sentinel Tower is new, and I didn't have to play Fishbowl. So Sentinel Tower is whenever an instant or sorcery spell is cast during your turn. Sentinel Tower deals 1 damage to any target equal to 1, plus the number of instant sorcery spells cast before the spell's turn. Now, if you have Dramatic Reversal and Isochron Scepter together, you can just cast infinite spells and you just kill everybody. And Tezzeret can search out Sentinel Tower because he comes into play with 4 loyalty, and you can -X him. And that is functionally the deck. Probably looking at Planeswalkers from the lens of they can be reusable with infinite mana is probably one of the better approaches to building a Planeswalker deck. And yeah, I mean, I think this deck is pretty good. I'd like to build it. My play group currently does not support Planeswalkers as commanders, but maybe that will change, and maybe the rules will change, and then it won't matter, and they'll just have to do it. But I don't think it makes the format inherently that different than it already is. So, yeah, if anybody has a play group that allows Planeswalkers Commander to check out Tezzeret, and don't put the Chain Bell in there because it sucks. So, you all have a good day, and remember to keep your combos classy.